Good afternoon in Munich, good morning also in the United States, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this UTalk special episode on the occasion of the 2022 Transatlantic Innovation Week. My name is Niclas-Alexander Mauss, and it's my great pleasure to be here on stage, literally in the middle of this truly illustrious group of panelists in order to discuss how to create entrepreneurial ecosystems that really contribute to the transformation to a circular economy. This year's Transatlantic Innovation Week is all about partnerships for our planet, which fits quite well also to the mission of UnternehmerTUM actually as a driver of sustainable innovation. And while we all know the adage of it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a city to raise a startup, the question is, what does it take to raise particularly a circular startup, or in other words, what's necessary to build tomorrow's circular unicorns? And before I'm briefly going to introduce all the experts and leaders around me, let me especially welcome Her Excellency, let me say this at least once, Ambassador Amy Gutmann, Ambassador of the United States to Germany, and also Consul General Timothy Liston. Great to have both of you here. Incredible honor, I think, for all of us, and a very warm welcome to you guys.
Thank you.
And also with us on stage is Susanne Kadner, Director of the Circular Economy Initiative and co-lead Energy Resources and Sustainability at AKTech, German National Academy of Science and Engineering. Philipp Gerbert, General Managing Director of the TUM Venture Labs, also Director of UnternehmerTUM Applied AI and Senior Partner Emeritus of the Boston Consulting Group. Then we have Christian Haessler, Global Program Lead Circular Economy at Covestro, and Sebastian Daus, co-founder of FixFirst, a circular startup we're going to be learning more about throughout the panel and in the pitch session later on. So, Madam Ambassador, if I may start with you, for obvious current reasons, on a different level than usually in the context of circular economy, because beyond the common ecological, social, economic motives behind that vision, not only COVID, but also the ongoing war in Ukraine has painfully stressed the importance of resource security and the painful dependencies we still have in the context of resources and supplies. So, to what extent do you think the circular economy has become even more important given the latest war and its impact on the international order?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, I feel very at home here because the University of Pennsylvania had a similar space, and it's so great to be here. So thank you.
Thank you.
You asked a fundamental question, and I think there's a very, to my mind, clear answer, which is that the pandemic, the war against Ukraine, has only made the circular economy and the innovation ecosystem more important. We have to solve the problems that have created the pandemic, and we have to be able to defend ourselves against the dependency on malign actors like Mr. Putin before the horrible things happen. And to the extent that we can do so, we will be more prosperous as well as more free. And it's great minds that actually put innovations to work in society that make that possible. I saw that at the University of Pennsylvania. We began when in the early 2000s, a lot like you did, with basically we began nowhere as far as the innovation ecosystem was concerned. And then we started creating spaces like this. We started incentivizing entrepreneurs as young as possible. And we brought venture capital and small and large businesses together with students and graduates of our university. And we went from the situation where in 2005 we had maybe 10 commercialization agreements and nothing about the green economy, to last year when we had over 700 commercialization agreements, and dozens of those were about making our climate greener. And that's just one example. So I think this is just so important now, and I think this is a wake-up call for those people who aren't already on board, but you all are on board, and so I think the opportunities now are to invest more in our young people and in talent, and then to bring the discoveries into the marketplace, working across all sectors and all disciplines.
Yeah, that wake-up call, I think, Susanne, you heard it maybe a couple of years earlier than others. You're one of the key figures in the field of circularity in Germany. Why does this topic matter so much to you? Where would you say do we stand today on a national level in the EU, maybe also in the US and globally, and where do we need to go?
Yeah, well, I think for me this vision of a circular economy was just something very, very convincing. I've spent 10 years in climate research, and there the narrative was dominated by what we can't do anymore in the future if we want to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And with the circular economy, there is a kind of vision of how we can do it. It's not a negative, it's a positive one. And that's why I think the circular economy has really this great potential. And it's fun to talk about it. It's interesting to work on the ideas and to see how to implement them. Nevertheless, in Germany, although we say we are doing circular economy for decades, one has to be honest and say that at the moment we are more doing circular waste management, because most of our policies are still focused on the end of the product life cycle, at the material life, and we have expertise in recycling, but the other loops are missing. But even in this respect, when we look at how many primary resources we can really replace through the recyclates or through the secondary materials that come out of the recycling, it's only 13 to 18% overall in Germany. So there's huge potential. And if you compare these numbers with how the rest of Europe is performing, we're even below EU average. And that's despite all the experience that we've gathered in this sector so far. So the question is, how do other countries do this different? If we look towards the Netherlands, they've both committed themselves towards a circular economy target. They want to be completely circular by 2050. And they have set up different sectors to facilitate this transition. For example, in the building sector, they have a great focus on disassembly. And these ideas do not dominate in Germany that much. Also, European-wide, you know, I've been talking about the front runners, but we also have to be aware that there are still some countries which use landfills. So, you know, and it's going to be a great task for the European Union to bring us all to a level playing field. The European Union is really sort of going forward in respect of that. We have the new battery regulation that's in the trilogue at the moment. We have the new ecosystem directive, or regulation as it's supposed to become. We have a sustainable product regulation, and they all really take this very comprehensive life cycle perspective. From the beginning, the design phase, the repair, the reuse, the remanufacturing, and then in the end, the recycling. So that's very, very encouraging to see. If we look at the global level, we know the Circular Gap report. The numbers have been going down over the past 2 years. So we were at 9.1% circular globally. We are now at 8.7% or 8.6%. So there's much to be done. But we see that there is the motivation to do something in other countries as well. China, for example, has a circular economy development plan. That's part of the 5-year plan period. But there's a lot of focus on productivity and recycling. That needs to be said. You know, they focus on industrial ecosystems, but the focus is still on the recycling side. In Africa, you have different countries which have implemented policies. Kenya or Nigeria, Rwanda look at extended product responsibilities in electronic sectors. But again, you know, you have to still push that there's a lot developing. In the US, we have the EPA, right, with the National Recycling Strategy 2021. So again, there's a lot of momentum in the different countries in the world. I think we are starting to understand the potential of a circular economy, but now it's really about implementing it and learning from each other how to do it best.
Yeah, and implementing, that's exactly the key word, because we see there's a long way to go and there are a lot of challenges, but also plenty of opportunities and also entrepreneurial action fields, and we need those entrepreneurs who embrace these opportunities. And one of them we have here, which is Sebastian Daus. Could you explain to us what your solution is, very briefly, because we're going to be hearing your pitch anyways later on, and especially how you actually got there to found such a circular startup?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, and thank you also for having me here, and thank you for being here. It's a question, why FixFirst, right? So I think what, as the name suggests a little bit, our vision is to create a world where fixing products comes actually first and where that's totally normal. And which for us means basically fighting waste and obsolescence with digitization. And what we're building is more like an operating system, as we call it, for circular services and products. But let me unpack that, right? So I think if you want to try to fix a product, maybe you've tried it, maybe you didn't. But it's typically very cumbersome, right? It's often too costly, too expensive. And the new shiny object always is sold as a better one. So there's a lot of barriers on the consumer side. But also if we looked into the issue, we actually realized the processes and collaboration in the back are often a challenge, or holds everybody back. And I've been there, my father runs an electric installation and repair business as well. So I've seen it also from the back and what the challenges are. And we realized, okay, we have to bring those folks together and improve the processes on that side. So we need to make repair easier for everybody, for consumers, for businesses, but also for brands. And that's what we've been trying to do. But on the point of getting there, I have to say it has been a bit of a bumpy ride, I think, as it is with startups. So we started out as a marketplace model. So if you would have had an issue, you come to us, we would help you. COVID happened. We focused on B2B, software as a service. And that's where also UnternehmerTUM, specifically tech founders, helped us a lot. We run pilot projects with enterprise clients like Miele or Euronics as a retailer. And since then we've been developing a bit. So we now have a super scalable solution focusing on small business. And also we want you to take action. So we just started a campaign and actually now also a long-term circular action page, as we call it, letsfixfirst.com, where you can find over 10,000 repair options and also can sign a pledge to fix your product. So step by step, but just hanging in there and focusing on the problem.
Yeah, and step by step, one of your first steps in the early phases of your startup was, I think, participating actually in the Tech Founders Accelerator here at UnternehmerTUM, and that shows how much also we as an entrepreneurial ecosystem can contribute. And that would be my question to you, Philipp. What entrepreneurial ecosystems, entrepreneurship centers, universities can contribute, and what your approach is here at TUM and UnternehmerTUM in order to foster circular innovation?
Niklas, thanks for the question and for the invitation. So perhaps I'll quickly say where do we stand and then what we're building right now. So universities can contribute a lot because they obviously have a huge potential both of students with their enthusiasm and energy and of research with their power. And I think here at UnternehmerTUM, we built a basis. We train about 5,000 people per year in entrepreneurship. We start at least one scalable startup a week. And we collected the kind of the ecosystem about $3.5 billion of venture capital last year. So it's a real force. But as we said, we can scale it up much more, to get it over 10 billion. So if we leverage the research power, to say from research to innovative business models. We're not interested in improving current models, innovative business models. Now, that's what led us to start the TUM Venture Labs first. And we focus obviously on healthcare, software, AI, aerospace, quantum, all these sexy things. But then there are lots of other parts where we have things to do like built environment, which contributes a lot to the circular economy, and it has the second to fourth industrial revolution on chem space, which has a bad reputation, but the new materials, all the stuff, food, agro, biotech, which is exploding. But we thought, look, with all of that, we still need something that focuses specific on the space. So we're founding right now a new venture lab that is where we give the domain support in sustainability and circular economy. And why are we doing that? Because we thought, first of all, we always have the issue, people have great technologies, but there is not really a product market fit. Now we find this is particularly tough in this environment. There was lots of green tech waves that followed because it's such a systemic problem, right? So you must know, how to actually address it as a startup. The second thing is, in this space, normally people come to us with great technologies and want to save the world. Here, there's also lots of people that just want to save the world and have really lousy ideas. They don't know how to do it, right? And they become vegan, and they don't use straws, which is all good. But we say, to really make a difference, think about starting a scalable business model, because new business models are what we need, and it has to be scalable. And to give them support there, which means just not, you can win innovation awards like crazy right now. You have a circular thing, you have at least 5 innovation prizes, I assume, probably much more. I don't want this out here, right? I mean, it's certainly much more. But that doesn't give you a scalable business model. Also, you shouldn't live off subsidies. Germany and Europe has lots of stuff. You have to think global markets, right? And that's really hard for these young people. And to say entrepreneurship makes a difference, you can do it, and so on. Then we say, there are impact investors out there, yes, but impact investors are not donors, right? So you have to say, how do you really work with them? Yes, you can leverage some of them. So that's why we build a support system and have this specific venture lab for the green tech, and also, as a second part, to introduce the circular thinking in all of the venture labs. Because not just, because it's good, but it's the business of tomorrow. I always say, look, we think we live in a great economic world, but we're eking out 3% or 4% of global growth, and we're using 1.8 planets and resources. Right? And startups would call that a vanity metric. You're burning your cash while you have growth, right? So we really have to change that, and that's why we said, we have to, introduce. This is the business of tomorrow, and the young people have to know how to use it, not to check and all the mistakes you make, but how do you actually leverage that? And that's why we're creating it.
And that is one thing, disrupting, being a new player. The other is transforming an established industry, and I think that is also, in a way, a challenge, of course, for incumbent firms, and but of course also an exciting opportunity, we hope. Christian Haessler, from the perspective of Covestro, for a corporation in general, where do you see the key opportunities, both for corporations and startups, maybe also startup corporate collaboration, and where do you focus your own activities?
Yeah, thank you very much first for giving me and the chemical industry a chance to contribute here today. And transforming an existing industry is probably similarly, if not more challenging than creating new startups. And I think we have to do both, right? And first, maybe a few words on plastics and their role in our modern world, right? So circular economy is the vision of Covestro for a good reason, because we think that with circular economy, we can solve the major 2 challenges industry, specifically the plastics industry, has today. That is, of course, climate mitigation, climate change mitigation, resource protection, but specifically for us also the issue of plastics in the environment, which we have to solve, right? And which we have to contribute to. And that means for us that we will go, as the energy industry or the car industry before, we will go away from oil and naphtha as our main raw material. We will have to replace that raw material by biomaterials, by waste, and by CO2. And that is the endeavor and the change and the transformation we are in now. That's highly important to us. And saying that, we have to just realize that plastics are now and will also be in future part of a modern life, also of a modern sustainability life, right? It's not only on the waste problem, it's also on the contributions of these materials. So you have to differentiate if you look at the plastics industry. They do not belong into the environment, but there will, for example, on the other hand, there will be no wind blades, there will be no solar modules without polymers, right? So you need to have both. You need to foster the applications that are sustainable. You need to stop wasting plastics materials. And if you go away from a linear to a circular business model, it's also an innovation challenge, I must say. It's not only a transformation of the company, it's an innovation challenge, and no company can do that only by itself. You have to partner much more than we did in the past along the whole value chain, not only the direct customer, not only the supplier, but along the whole value chain. And there's a lot of innovation, new business models. I really like what Philipp was saying on make it scalable. Yeah, chemical industry is a large volume business, and if you want to transform this, you have to have solutions, not only the small ones that can help a lot, like catalysts and so on. You need to have solutions that can be scaled up. And we would like to go away from oil-based materials to other raw materials. So especially waste will be our new raw material to build up polymers. And there's so much innovation need and innovation power needed in this area that I think we have especially also looking at global collaborations, are really a chance to bring all these R&D activities and know-how globally together. No? Let's not forget that we are Transatlantic Innovation Week, so we work very closely together with our headquarters in Pittsburgh, also Pennsylvania, and of course also in Shanghai. So I think we need this global cooperation and a lot of partnerships along the whole value chain. That's quite important to us.
So Ambassador Gutmann, speaking about no one can do it alone, and also Philipp mentioning the systemic challenge, given your previous experience also as longstanding president of the University of Pennsylvania, how can public and private actors better work together, and what are your experiences or your approaches in that field?
We're not going to solve the climate crisis, which is the existential crisis of our time, right? By asking people to freeze in the winter, to cut back so drastically on energy that the economy shrinks. We're going to innovate our way through this, but to innovate takes private actors and public support and public actors. So President Biden, for example, is absolutely committed to investing in the kind of research, the kind of development, and the kind of entrepreneurialism that brings sustainable energy into our lives. And that means private and public partnerships are key. I think in Germany that's a little less experience with that, or at least less knowledge of how that works than in the United States. But in the United States, we also are leaning into this. We also have to do more of this. My experience has been of just a transformation when this happens. So the University of Pennsylvania is the biggest private employer in the city of Philadelphia, and the city of Philadelphia is one of the largest American cities. It's where University of Pennsylvania, the second largest employer in the state, second only to Walmart, and we have many better jobs, right? 6 hospitals. And how does this public-private partnership work? Well, let me give you a great historical example and bring it right up very quickly to modern times. The US Congress, on a bipartisan basis, in the mid-1980s, created a law that not very many people know about, except if you're a university president, you had better know about it. And if you're an entrepreneur, you should appreciate it. It was called the Bayh-Dole Act. And what that act did was say, the government is going to invest in research. And so the government invested in biomedical research. Universities would take out the intellectual property on that research, the IP, and any proceeds from that research, once something went into the market, the university would share with the entrepreneurs, the people who had the invention. They would get the major share. The share that the university got would be reinvested. So why am I telling you this story? Because 20 years ago, Katie Carrico and Drew Weissman at the University of Pennsylvania believed in messenger RNA technology. It was very unpopular. The government helped the University of Pennsylvania invest in their research. 2 years ago, their research created the messenger RNA platform that enabled BioNTech in Germany and Pfizer in the US to partner together with the vaccines that are saving lives, also the Moderna vaccine. The proceeds of that are enormous, both to the inventor and to the university. They're all going to go back into research, biomedical research, clean energy research. So we're really ramping up on clean energy research. And that's going to enable entrepreneurs like those in the audience here and those listening in to have more resources to make the circular economy and the innovation ecosystem thrive moving forward. Without the public-private partnership, that would not have happened. With it, and with more of it, we're going to see a sustainable future.
Yep. And funnily enough, we at UnternehmerTUM know the German counterparts to the Pfizer story also quite well. So, Philipp, when thinking about those disruptions, really the deep tech innovations, do we live up to our ambitions also when you think of circular economy in Germany? And you've also lived for a long time in the US and worked there. What experiences did you take from there where you'd say we can learn from them, or maybe also the US can learn from us when it comes to sustainable innovation?
Well, before answering the question, I have to thank the University of Pennsylvania, because the Strüngmann family, the investors in biotech, are actually the ones supporting us in the TUM Venture Labs, right? So
it is a virtuous circle,
exactly.
Right? And Katie Carrico is an immigrant from Hungary. So I also want to say how important immigration is to, propelling our economies forward.
Yeah. So, as you know, I mean, I got my PhD at MIT. I lived a long time in Silicon Valley. I'm a huge fan of the US. And frankly, I'm not so sure I can answer this, on a global level. Let me try to say what we're trying to do here, what I think is unique in the sense. First of all, which is definitely unique in Europe, and that's really due to Helmut Schönberger, who started it all, is we're trying to build an ecosystem based, on, so to say, the university, the founders, the corporations, and politics. Here Bavarian politics more than global politics, because they're closer to Munich. And I think this ecosystem has proved incredibly powerful. We had several important people, private person, corporations supporting the ecosystem, serve as lead customers, et cetera, et cetera. And the second thing that we're trying to do in the TUM Venture Labs is to say we're trying to really work very hard to provide domain-specific support, but keep it as a network. So we do not want to have, just a biolab and an AI lab and a thing lab, but to recreate a network for two things. We believe very strongly innovation happens at the interface. So it's the robotics in healthcare, AI in healthcare, quantum chemistry, and so on. But also we want to provide best-in-class methods everywhere. And that started with, yes, AI everywhere, but it also includes circularity everywhere. Right? So I believe, and I've studied a lot, all the models in things, obviously primarily from my alma mater and so on. A biolab in Boston doesn't know what's going on in CSAIL. So it's the hugest labs in both spaces right next to one another. And we hope that, with that, we find a unique angle to foster innovation. Right? Is that better than the US? No, we learned a lot from the US. Both Berkeley and Stanford are our godparents, so to say, here in lots and lots of ways. So we're just trying to see what can we do with the resources we have to contribute to what we think is a global problem and a global innovation.
And hoping that will actually also spark then those urgently needed circular innovations. Christian, extrapolating from today, where would you say will we stand with regard to circularity in 10 years from now? And what, as a corporation, will you be contributing, and what should we all do on our side?
Yeah, as a corporation, we have to do our homework, of course. We just released climate targets, for example, for the things we can directly influence, which is the usage of green energy and our own emission, of course. But I also hope, and we can only do it together with partners on that road, that we are more circular, that we are more going away from oil and to waste as a raw material, and listening to the innovation efforts and networks and setups we have around the globe, that is of course a basis, and it's absolutely necessary. I think there's no other topic than circular economy that needs more global collaboration, at least in the materials industry, if I look back over the last 30 years. But you also have to give it a direction, of course. It's not only a cooperation network. Yeah? There needs to be very clearly defined what we should work on together, right? Because circular economy is such a broad topic. You have to have the focus there. Yeah? And telling again only for the plastics industry, it's not that simple as we see it in the supermarkets, that we scrap our PET bottles and then we make something else out of that, right? This is only the start. Plastics are high-tech materials with a lot of additives with very specific properties, and that is why they are so successful, and that is why we need them also in the future. To recycle this kind of materials and give them a second life is a completely different challenge than to mechanically recycle PET bottles. Yeah? And I hope that on these topics we get help from the scientific consortia, from the universities, from the universities globally also, to solve that together, because it's also for the chemical industry a global challenge. There's a lot of global associations now working together on these topics. And it is an innovation challenge, and I just hope that together, academia and industry, we will have solved not all of these topics, but more of them. That would be my prediction, my hope.
Yeah. So I hope we can live up to that, but I think what I can promise already that there's a lot to come. Also here directly at UnternehmerTUM, leading us to the pitch session we previously announced. We'll hear already now, given the time frame, 3 very short pitches of the 3 startups: FixFirst, LipCycle, and Cookie. And maybe if I may ask you, Sebastian, to go ahead with the first pitch, and John is in our pitch
Sure, happy to.
corner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I keep? All right, I guess I'm just going to keep this mic. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity as well. Hi everyone, you know myself already. So my name is Sebastian, I'm one of the founders at FixFirst, and we want to end the throwaway economy by building an operating system that makes that possible. We believe the future is circular, and actually repairing products and extending the lifetime of those might actually save the planet. Most of the emissions, 70% in fact, are caused by making or using products. Very little, as we heard, is actually only being recycled and returned. And as you know, the time for reaching our climate goals is pretty short. So what is keeping us from getting there, as I also introduced a little bit already, is the processes in the back are often broken. So if you want to fix a product, the incentives on the consumer side are often missing. For service companies, it's very struggling, right? So coming from where my father runs his business, you have to have the technicians, spare parts, all the materials. Back in the time, you wouldn't necessarily get that from manufacturers and others as well. And if you're a brand that wants to offer repair services or one that makes that efficient for your products, it gets very messy depending on the amount of products that you have. And you often don't know what's happening on the ground. So what we need to do is basically find ways of digitization and bring those parties together and streamline their processes, starting with the service providers in the back. And the timing couldn't be better. So we heard the consumer needs are changing quite a lot. The right to repair is coming. It's coming in Germany. Joe Biden also announced something like that. In the US, it basically means that you should have the right to repair or being able to fix your products themselves. But also that's supposed to be easy for companies to do that. So all the barriers that I mentioned, tools, spare parts, information, that's going to go away. There's a lot of new circular business models. Just think about refurbed electronics, second-hand markets. Digitization, I can finally have video calls with my grandma. And also in the industry, service technicians is a huge shortage. So we need to focus on automating processes and make them more efficient so we can actually cope for the demand what's coming. And this is what we're doing. So basically, we empower the circular, the ecosystem with digital tools. So on the one hand side, we build a software, which we call the operating system for those service providers. So those are the companies and people who are fixing your products. On the other side, we had built a platform for brands, so manufacturers, retailers, cities partially, that wants to offer repair or circular services. In some instances, we also give them the network. So we have companies in the fashion industry, as an example, who never had any repair infrastructure. Now we can also bring the service partners to them. And lastly, we also wanted you to take action. So this started out as a campaign idea, but it's basically a place for circular action and solution. How does it look like? So on the one hand side, we help those service partners manage all the processes. So from a request, paying technicians, writing invoice, cost estimates, so really all the hardcore operational stuff. They can also do a video inspection out of the box, so they don't necessarily have to drive somewhere, and make it really, really easy for you as well. The second step is the platform for brands. So we basically give them an insight on what's happening on the ground when it comes to fixing products, maintaining them, and they know exactly what's happening. So a big challenge in circular economy is also the data aspect. So we give them transparency on what errors happen with those products across their life cycle, what parts have been changed, and we can enable a lot of referred business models in the back. And lastly, this is the page that I mentioned. So we just launched, as part of Earth Day, but it's going to stay beyond that, a page called letsfixfirst.com that enables you or motivates you, hopefully, to take circular action. There's different things on the page, including a pledge to fix, and we also show different repair options to you. And in fact, we have now, we just launched or included Austria, more than 10,000 options right there. And we've been running pilot projects with brands like Miele Euronics before. Our business model, so it's a B2B SaaS company. We take subscription, every customer is a partner. We have a software partnership and also a circular partnership. And we want to be a circular unicorn, building that in Europe. And we believe the space is definitely there. The market is growing a lot, and you see more and more business models coming up in the industry. And we believe repairing will be the norm in the future. This is us, so what brings us together is really our vision, which is creating a world where fixing products comes first. And our mission is to accelerate circularity. We're now about 7 people full-time, 11, and grow beyond that, backed by an amazing crowd of mentors and investors. And depending on who you are in the audience, we are either recruiting, fundraising, or looking for partnerships. And that's pretty much it from my side. And also inviting you to sign our pledge to fix the next product, learn how to do it yourself, or just prefer repairable or refurbed ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. I suppose Madam Ambassador also meets a lot of interesting people every day. So if you have one message for her to convey to, I don't know who, what would you say?
You can sign our pledge, of course. But if you meet Joe Biden, we are happy also to look into the ES. I know the right repair is coming there, so
perfect.
Maybe that.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. And I think we'll advance straight forward to Philipp Brunatz, co-founder of LipCycle. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Niklas. And hi, everyone. I'm Philipp. I'm the co-founder of LipCycle. I'm Philipp. I'm the co-founder of LipCycle. And we have the mission to enable a sustainable and efficient circular economy of end-of-life lithium-ion batteries. But let me start at the beginning and why we have founded LipCycle. So, as almost everyone knows, millions of batteries are at the moment coming on the market, especially in the EV sector. But besides the electric vehicles, we have different other use cases, for example, the laptops, cell phones, e-bikes, and everything. Almost everything that drives at the moment will be electrified within the next years. And so, but what happens when the end of life of the battery occurs? By law, it's required that the battery will be recycled. But about the transportation and the packaging, almost no one thinks about at the moment. And here, LipCycle steps in. So we came from the initial idea to create a transport box that is easy to load, fast, reliable, and compliant by law. But this wasn't enough. We realized after a couple of months that we have to think everything bigger. And so we created a bigger network around our company. So we found a logistics partner with Interm Express Logistic, and they invested in us. And so we are able to transport batteries all over Europe. And so the concept is we go to our customers with a box, load the batteries, and then go to the dismantling. And at the dismantling, we disassemble the batteries to module or cell level. And we test each module or cell if the module is really defect or can have a second life. And if it can have a second life, we sell it for our customers to second life companies. And in addition, when it's really a defect batteries, it has to be recycled. So then we have a network of recyclers where we can recycle the batteries for our customers. But when we think this a little bit bigger, it's hard to get the full market transparency because we know the local players around, but at the moment, so many new companies occur every month and are founded every month and scale in a different level. And so we created a platform, or we are at the moment in the development of creating a platform where I wrote my master's thesis about at Niclas. And so we want to enable, or we want to collect all and track all Second Life companies and all recycling facilities all over Europe. In addition, we want to collect information about the battery itself, for example, from the circular initiative with the battery passport. This is really interesting. And there we, in addition, we want to implement a marketplace where we give the Second Life companies the opportunity to buy batteries, or the recycling companies to propose for the recycling. And so we have almost all information about the market and of the batteries, and we plan to use this information, train our network, and do some predictions about the supply and demand of the batteries, and organize the whole circular economy automatically and in a more optimal way than it is today. And this is currently in the development stage, and the team at our side is working on this. This is the thing from my side, and this brings me to an end. I want to thank you all for your attention, and I would be delighted to answer your questions.
Maybe one question from my side, because you mentioned it, remember very well, when you wrote your master thesis in the TUM Entrepreneurial Masterclass a year ago and came up with this whole concept. Now, we talked before, you are a team of 12, I think, and have operations ongoing throughout Germany or in all of Europe, and maybe you can show us more how much of that vision you have actually already been achieving.
So due to our investor, we are part of a worldwide group, and we have a network all over Europe, and we can transport at the moment normal goods and normal batteries in the whole Europe. And when it becomes waste, then it's a different kind of regulatory. We are able to transport it within Germany, but applied in almost every European country to transport even waste all over Europe. And so, we have an ongoing fleet of 1,500 trucks that drives every day. We have in our group. We have transporting batteries every day in whole Europe at the moment, mostly for the automotive industry and for development departments. And we try to become a bigger part in the waste business and in the recycling, and try to scale there a little bit more.
Great. You have a follow-up question, maybe a very quick one, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you had one thing with hindsight that you would like future circular economy companies to know when they start your company, what would you have liked to have known beforehand?
I think a lot of things are important. Especially everything happens so fast. You have to talk to so many people and get to know with so many people. Like, for example, when we can have a chat afterwards, this would be really beneficial for me. This is be open to the market, think about what can happen, be open to change your business model. Like me, at the first we thought that we only want to sell boxes, and now I'm becoming a full service partner. And so, be open, talk to people, and try to make the best out of the situation.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Philipp. Thank you so much. Before we go on with Cookie, given the time constraints, I want to thank you, Ambassador Gutmann, because I know you need to leave and a plane is basically waiting for you at the airport. So thank you so much for having been with us today. It's been an incredible, as said, pleasure and honor for all of us here at UnternehmerTUM. Thank you so much, Ambassador Gutmann, and have a safe trip to Berlin.
Thank you, and good luck to all of our young entrepreneurs here. Thank you. And the plane won't wait for me. That's why I have to leave. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But still, we have that third pitch, up and ready, which is by Torge Barkholz, the co-founder of Zurich-based startup Cookie. And Torge, feel free to go ahead. And now you have actually your advantage, a bit more time than the others.
But I think the presentation will find the way to Ambassador Gutmann, so maybe they get it. So I count on you, okay? So, first of all, thank you for a great panel discussion earlier. So it's great to see that circular economy finds its place in the society. So, and thanks UnternehmerTUM for giving us a chance to present Cookie to all of you. So with Cookie, we are presenting a solution in the reusable food packaging system. So we all know the situation, not just in when you go on holidays, vacation, on the beaches where you see all the food packaging waste. You see it in Munich as well. We are using 180,000 single-used cups per day just in Munich, and 2.8 billion a year, just coffee-to-go cups. So, and there are initiatives out there who are actually working on this issue. But with Cookie, we are actually providing the first digital end-to-end circular economy infrastructure for reusable food packaging. So we are not changing the user behavior, which is very important coming to the acceptance in the society. We adapt and we make it smarter. We're a tech company, we're a digital company, and we are trying to understand the partner, the gastronomy, and the user to make reusable systems more accessible in the society. So we are, as I said, we are building a digital circular economy infrastructure. That means we are owning the full circle that we deliver the cups, for example, to our partners. The partner hands it out with a depot to the user. The user goes to one of our wonderful, lean, smart drop-off boxes. You can see it here. And just drop it in there and then automatically get the wallet, get the deposit on the wallet, and can use it for, I will come to it a little later, to donate it or to use for the new purchase. Or, and then we go to the boxes, we empty them, we use, of course, bikes for it. We don't use vans to, for our logistics. We have our own IoT system in here, so everything is developed by ourselves. We know when we have to go there to be profitable, because scalability is also a thing. You have to be profitable. We talked about subsidiaries. No, we don't want to make a profitable business here, and we not want to be, we don't have to be dependent from governments or local authorities. So, and then we pick them up. We go bring them to washing facilities. We batch them again and then send it out. So, and what makes it digital? So, as you can see, we have all our partners on the map. We have an impact. You can see 17.33 grams per cup is saved when you drop it in our cup. And next week we will have the opportunity to directly support the WWF and get your wallet sent out and donate to them. So our company is just 3/4 of a year old. The idea was last February, so very new. We already have more than 83,000 cups scanned and returned. More than 10,000 active users already. We're just in Switzerland, in Zurich and in Basel. And with a customer care ticket from 0.3%. So these are our partners. So we have the SBB, the Schweizer Bundesbahn, as an infrastructural partner. We have hospitals, we have universities, we have local coffee chains like the V-Café, for example, because we already have branded cups. So we don't see that our partners wants to have turquoise or blue cups. They want to have individual cups for out-of-house marketing. So, and these partners is just we found in the last 3/4 of a year. And this is our team, a wonderful team, a team that is able to scale, a team that has the ability to build up things. We're mostly coming from the micromobility sector, and we just gained a new team member or new team members, UVC, and that's why we are, I think, also a little bit invited. UVC as lead investor led our seed round we just recently closed, and yes, that's everything for me. The only thing I would like to add is we are hiring. So please reach out to us. My colleague Selena and I will be here. So thank you for your attention and stay smart.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Torge, and feel free to keep the microphone for some Q&A, because one question I do have now, I think you're hiring a lot, given your development over the last year. If I learned it correctly, you started actually early 2021. In mid-2021, you incorporated, and now you're very well on track. So how did you actually manage that speed?
Yeah, as you can see, we managed that speed because of our team. Because it's a team effort, it's experience, it's do mentality. That's most important. It's not theoretical. So we are not the PowerPoint masters. We like to bring things on the street, 80-20. So when we have our first partner was actually the SPB as an infrastructure partner. We didn't even have a product. We had a prototype, which was far away from this one. So we managed this one, as you can see, in 12 months, from the idea to the point of sale in Zurich. And they asked us, Toy, are you sure that you can handle that and we can go live on the 5th of July last year? I said, yes, of course, we can do that. On the 3rd of July, we were ready, 80-20, we have to do some work, but go out and try it out. When you be in your laboratory and try and think about that, it will never be successful.
Mm-hmm. And I hope my follow-up question won't count as commercial on YouTube, but why did you pick UnternehmerTUM Venture Capital then as your seed investment leader and not another VC?
I think we didn't pick UVC and UVC didn't pick us. Mm. We found each other because it was we saw them on the NOAA conference in Zurich and wonderful, led by Johannes and Lisa. So it's so great to work with them. For us as a young company running through a VC due diligence, it's so much fun. So, but it's really, we really like that. It gives us now a very good base for upcoming rounds, because now we did our homework. When you start a company, you do not do anything completely 100%. Maybe there's an article missing in a contract which is for IPs important for the next rounds. Now everything is clear. We have a completely fine setup. So this is actually great to work with UVC because they are professionals, and of course for us they have B2B. They have B2B contacts, all the UnternehmerTUM. So they can help us also to scale and going to the German market as well. So that's why it's a win-win situation. Mm.
Yeah, I have one more question as well. It's a super perfect example of how, the reuse, you intensify the use phase. The question would be like, fully closing the circle on your product. What is the material it's made of, and how do you deal with when it reaches the end of it, when it gets flaky, breaky, or whatever? Are you cooperating with a company who will take care of it, or are you doing this with yourself?
So right now we are using out-of-the-shelf cups, which are out of PP, polypropylene, and I would love to talk to Christian about other materials.
Because I wanted to ask after the material already.
No, currently, this is the most common material for these kind of things. But because also on the European sector and on the German regulations, you sometimes are not allowed to reuse recycled cups for new cups. Exactly. So we are actually having an agreement with our manufacturer, which is actually in Germany and in Austria, where our cups are produced. So the supply chain is very short. We have an agreement with them that they take back the out-of-life cups, recycle them, and then use, for example, for parts of our boxes, or they do other things. in the second life.
Yeah, the food grade is often the limiting and the regulation
Yes.
with that.
And,
Thank you.
And would like to add that I think we need to change that because these laws are old. They are the technique is much better now. We would love to use because we don't love to use because it's better. It's not produced waste, ocean waste, for example, for our new cups or bowls or things. Because what I would like to add, just a thing, I know time is precious, is that we are not the new cup. Cup provider. We are the infrastructure for the return. So we would like to introduce, would like to invite the Rivolo or Vital or Recap, for example, to use our technology and return their bowls and boxes and everything in our drop-off stations. So we want to be the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. So I think Relevo actually was planning on joining today as well, so could be sitting somewhere in the audience. Mm-hmm. Great. So thank you very much once more, Sebastian, Philipp, and Torge. And Torge, if you would be so kind to give me the presenter again, because is it back there? Ah, thanks. Because we're nearly through our program, and now. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who joined in virtually today or is looking at this later on YouTube. Thanks a lot for being here with us, and goodbye in terms of the stream.